Hello. Um, I want to say just throw some thoughts out there about AI and my take on it, my response to it. So I'll just describe some of the things I've seen. So I'm not a huge AI user. Just sometimes I use it to create some images and things like that. I don't really use it other than what just automatically comes up in my general Google search, which Google now uses AI. Everything uses AI. Um, I see it. It can be a useful tool in a very sort of practical, linear way. My concern about AI is it being used as this intermediary for for creativity, like almost like this block in between, a go between the natural creative mind and then thinking that AI is creating something that is actually creative, that believing that AI actually has some sort of soul or spirit behind it. And well, it doesn't. I mean, it's a machine. It's something that is relying solely on a whole bunch of data being put into it, and it's reliant on this data, and that data is dependent on who's feeding that data into this machine. But essentially it can't think for itself, it can't feel, it can't go through the human struggle, it can't suffer, it can't experience what it is that makes us human beings, what makes us spiritual beings in embodiment. And so I've seen people using AI to sort of try and find out almost spiritual answers, to justify spiritual answers to things which, you know I've seen videos of people sort of saying to AI, like, tell me about, what would you say about, what are the answers to some sort of human conundrum or something, some sort of philosophical question. And it talks back and it gives, what sounds like a really deep and meaningful answer, but it's just a friggin' machine. It's actually just built that answer based on a whole bunch of human beings feeding their minds, their thoughts into it, and it just puts it all together. I also listened one time to some spiritual teachings, which I study these spiritual teachings, and the AI, somebody got it to create a podcast, which was basically, I don't know, it was like a machine talking to a machine, but it sounded like an Oprah interview or something, you know, like a person sort of going, yeah, so, what would you say about this thing, this aspect of the ray of love? And, the other thing was like, yeah, sure, I hear what you're saying, like, it's like this. And so it sounded like it was real because, it's all based on this data, this information that's been fed into it, of like, this is what a podcast sounds like, this is what one engaging, interesting human being sounds like when they're talking with another. This is what it sounds like. So it's all putting it together. But there was no soul in it. And it's just like, I don't know, I didn't feel any sort of higher vibration from it at all. Like it's just a regurgitation of information. Um, I've had people tell me about how they've used AI to communicate with them, like how would a particular person respond to me if I spoke to them that way, or how would an ascended master, respond to me. It asks the AI, they ask the AI, like, how would Jesus answer this question, and the AI gives them an answer, and it's kind of like, well, really? Like, how would a machine know what Jesus could say? Or, how could a machine know, like, if you keyed in, like, how would Neptune Rainbow Dreamer answer this question I have, and a machine, I'm sure if enough was programmed into the AI, if it had enough data from me, it would give you an answer which might sound like me. It might even use my voice. It probably would use a lot of the concepts and ideas that I talk about, but it wouldn't be me. Only I can express who I am. Only I can express my thoughts. And I tell you, I don't know what I'm going to say next. I don't know how I'm going to be thinking tomorrow or the day after that. So, a machine is only the culmination of a whole bunch of data that's all stored up in it, and it's just drawing on that, but it has no way of that growth, that natural growth. The growth of AI is reliant on human beings and what they feed into it. So I really see it as a useful thing, as a tool for assisting with certain projects, assisting with certain doing things, with using your technology, whatever it might be. But as far as AI goes, for replacing the human mind, it's impossible. It can't. It can't. There are dangers in it. There are huge dangers. I know. Like, they're looking at creating that horrible Musk guy wants to create like implants that will override, that can actually go into bioorganically into the brain, and you can have your OS inside of you. And yeah, that I find that rather disturbing, that idea. So yeah, it's really not something that it's not something we can just sort of place all of our hope for the future in. I think in a way it's almost like a gift, because it's sending us on this direction of human beings starting to reclaim who we are, and to describe that, what is it that makes me a human being? What is it that, about my mind, about my soul, about my creativity, about my imagination, that, and what is it that creates the human experience that, sets us apart from this machine? And, it's the suffering that sort of, that's how we grow, that's, we hit these difficult traumatic points, and, that's where we find ourselves. It's where we lose what we don't want to be, and we discover who we really are there. We discover our strength, or we have the potential to do that, and the machine is never going to experience that. It's even if you sort of, you know, um, I don't know, like, a bomb dropped a bomb on the machine, it's not going to care about that experience. It'll just stop working. Um, or if, one AI thing, oh, I don't know. I just can't conceive of it because it's just ridiculous anyway. So, yeah, that's just a few ponderings and thoughts and contemplations on AI. And it's not a spiritual tool, because spirit is not matter. Spirit is, it's in matter, but it's beyond matter. The spirit is inside of us. So, it's an external thing. It's a material thing. It's wires and things like that. It's not an answer for us. So yeah, there's some of my thoughts.